Hey there, my name is Geert-Jan. I am the key facilitator of the Friends of OpenJDK community, fuj.io. And in that context, we're here with a great panel of very enthusiastic community members from the Java community and beyond. And we'd like to tell you about our enthusiasm and involvement in different open source and other developer-related communities. So with that background, we're going to briefly introduce ourselves and then talk a bit about what excites us and how people can get involved. So over to you, Simon.
Yeah, I'm Simon Martinelli. I'm from Switzerland. I'm a Java champion, and I'm also involved in the Java user group in Switzerland. So I introduced the Java user group in Bern. So the Java user group in Switzerland is a bit special because we have 5 locations in all the big cities in the German-speaking part.
Perfect. Onder.
Hello, I'm Ondro Mihaly. I'm from Prague in Czech Republic, where I run a Java user group. Fortunately, I'm not the only one, and I appreciate that we have now quite a big community of organizers, and the community is growing bigger there. Because the value of community is in there, that you're not alone. That's really a big part of it. And besides that, I'm Java champion. I'm part of the Jakarta community, so I'm working with others on specifications there, also on several open source projects. So that's me in a nutshell.
Perfect.
Okay, hi, I'm Marit van Dijk from the Netherlands. I'm a developer advocate at JetBrains and also a Java champion. Involved in various ways, speaking at conferences and at JUGs, which has included Amsterdam JUG, and I'm not sure actually. I don't think I've spoken at Amsterdam JUG yet. We should work on that. And Switzerland JUG. And I'm involved in programming and review committees for several conferences, including Vox Days Amsterdam, DevOps UK, and Dev2Next.
Perfect. Yeah, and in addition to what was mentioned earlier, I'm also involved in the Amsterdam JUG. I'm one of the organizers, and we have frequent meetups. And as Ondo referred to, a nice thing about being involved in meetups and in communities is that you're not alone. And you discover that there are many people around that are also tinkering with things or trying things out or working or not working in companies or independently. Just a diversity of activities in the communities becomes very apparent when you see everybody in the same space and have a drink together and food and listen to a few talks. So what to you, Simon, are the key things that make community involvement a thing that you're interested in and passionate about?
You already said it. So the second part after the talks is the socializing at the events. And interestingly, I was also involved in Java communities before I started public Java communities. I was working for Swiss Railways when I moved to Java in year 2000. And we had an internal Java community to share knowledge, to do talks, to get to know each other. Yeah. So that's very important. So I think the community at all is the most important part. You can share knowledge, you can share any other stuff that you're interested in. And that's really what makes the community. Yeah.
Is it like that in Prague as well?
Yeah, definitely. And I would like to say that one more thing, that it's not only about sharing knowledge. Like we share the common passion, something we like to do, or we at least do for our daily living. But that also creates bonds as we meet. I saw a lot of friendships happening from out of the community, and then people go to do something completely unrelated to Java, but there is another community, other people. So, like, that's what I really like. Like, the technology brings us together, but then it also like helps to other communities to grow, like sub-communities, and it's like a very vivid ecosystem.
Yeah, and I also like having cross-pollination between communities. So as part of my job, obviously, I'm part of the Java communities and go to lots of Java conferences, but I'm also part of different tech communities like software crafters, or because I worked in test automation for a while, a women in testing group. And then you get lots of cross-pollination, and you can take ideas from one place to another place and learn new stuff together. Makes it more interesting than doing that by yourself.
Yeah, it's also really interesting how you don't realize how easy it is to get involved, how low threshold, how low the bar is for getting involved. How did you, so you mentioned that it happened within the company that you were working in. That's where it started for you. And then you set up a JUG yourself, or how did it
No,
go?
we had the Java user group in Switzerland. It's one of the oldest. It was it's from 1996 already. We started with that, but in Zurich. And someone, I reached out to them and they, why don't you do anything in Bern? And they said, you can do that. So you can be the host, then we will have the Java user group in Bern. And so I started the Java user group in Bern.
Well played also
Yeah,
of them. Like,
really.
you want something, you go do it.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah, but we also have other communities in Bern. So we have like an architecture community and we have a general purpose software community. And they started more or less on the same time. So like it was 2011 around that time for the same reason, because in Bern is kind of the capital of Switzerland and we have a lot of government there, but it's not as vibrant as Zurich with all the big banks and other startups and so on. And they started the community as well. And we try to share, for example, or we try to create joint events, for example, to share the people from the community as well.
Interesting. So I have a question for you, Andro. How many members must your JUG have before you have your first meeting?
How many members of what?
Should your community have before you have your first meeting?
Should be enough that you can hold a meeting. So the meeting, I saw meetups where there were just 5 people, like from a company, just having their own meetup in a company. You don't have to have a Java user group. You can start within your own company with your colleagues, just share some information, prepare some presentations, maybe ask different departments, because a lot of time, company is big, you only interact with your small, like several teams, but there are maybe Java developers, maybe .NET developers there. But these kind of initiatives help you connect with the people you don't normally work with. So you can start anywhere and then you can grow, or you can go out and see if somebody is doing something beyond their own company, like Java user group, which is open to everybody. And then it can go bigger to community-driven conferences, but you don't have to start with that. You can really start small.
Have you had the same experience?
Yeah, so before I worked at JetBrains, I worked at an online retail platform in the Netherlands. And there also we would do like brown bag lunches where people would share their experience. Obviously, within that company, everybody was using Java or Kotlin, and everything was Spring-based. So we had a lot of the same challenges, so you can share that with each other. But also within that company, it was very common for developers to go to conferences, which is how I started going to conferences. And well, that kind of escalated. But and the upside of then going to conferences is you meet people who work in completely different contexts, who might have problems that you've never even thought about. And I like doing both, like sharing the knowledge with people who have the same struggles maybe, but also going outside that bubble and then learning about other struggles that people might be having and thinking about, how does that apply to maybe my job, or, sometime in the future that might come in handy. And I like doing both.
Yeah, and you're all internationally recognized speakers. You go to multiple conferences. Is there a connection between the activities you did locally and the fact that you're now traveling around the world going to different conferences?
Yeah, it definitely helped. Because first of all, I can also do my talks at the local Java user group, so to test it somehow.
Exactly.
That's sometimes I do. And on the other hand, you meet like people like Marit, for example, at the local Java user group, and then you get connections with other speakers from all around the world. And this makes it easier to go to international conferences because you already know the people who will be there, right?
Yeah. Did you have similar?
Yeah, at first, for me, it didn't start with the Java user group. It started with the Jakarta community. Which I first started as a job, like with application servers, whatever. But I started to see what other people do in the world. There was already Twitter. I went to a first conference that helped, and I saw all the speakers using Twitter. So I joined Twitter to see what's happening there. And I saw a lot of people discussing different topics, and I was curious about Jakarta. At that time, it was this big hurdle about Oracle moving it or not moving it, and then I joined these discussions, and then it helped me practically found a job, which allowed me to join this effort and go to conferences. So the companies sponsored me to talk about Java EE in connection to their products, obviously. And suddenly I was employed by a company that was directly involved in Jakarta EE. And then it also, because I was able to go to conferences, I became more like visible. It allowed me to run the Java user group, because sometimes people saw me that, yeah, you speak at conferences, so you're credible enough to run the Java user group. It's not that it wouldn't be required, but it helped me. It also helped me to bring some speakers from abroad to our Java user group. So it's all interconnected. It's not easy to tell you, like, start doing this or this, but you can start whatever helps. Where Java user group helped me with my first presentation. So I wasn't sure if I'm good at presenting or how it look like. I just signed up. I wanted to present something, and 3 months later I was in Java 1. So that was completely different. That's where the company helped me, and some other Java champions that I met through the company. But it all began at the Java user group, where I basically practiced and I became confident. I can not only follow the community, but I can be part of the community, or even become a leader in the community and follow. So it helped me. The community gave me the confidence to really grow.
I want to jump in on what you said on being on Twitter, because it kind of happened the same way for me. I started going to conferences, seeing all of the speakers be on there, and then started following them and just like asking them questions or talking to them when they posted. And that's actually how someone asked me to submit to a conference, which is how I got started speaking. Because they invited me to submit a lightning talk to a conference in the Netherlands called Joy of Coding, which is one of my favorites. It's a single track conference, not Java per se, but it's really, really good. And so they invited me to submit for a 5-minute lightning talk. And they said, you know, the worst that can happen is you don't like it, it'll be over in 5 minutes. Of course, what they didn't tell me is the worst that could happen is I would end up liking it and wanting to do it again. So that is what happened. So I went to speak to more conferences, because that allows me to then go to more conferences and, you know, see your friends that you meet around the world who live all over the world, and meet new people as well, and exchange ideas.
Must you be an expert in a technology before you do a presentation on that topic?
So I know people who use their presentations to actually learn about the topic, which can be, you know, conference talk-driven development is a thing. I want to learn about this. Let me submit an abstract, and then if it gets selected, I'll have to learn about this. I think, for example, Roy van Rijn, the Dutch speaker, did an excellent presentation on quantum computing. I think that's how he did that. Maybe he knew about quantum computing before, I don't know. So that is one way. But I also think that everybody is an expert on their own experience. So, and I really, really enjoy experience talks where, you know, we had this problem. This is what we did, this is how we solved it, or maybe we failed, because failure can be super interesting to learn from. Or, you know, this is what worked, what didn't work. And obviously everyone's context is different, but I really enjoy those kinds of talks, and I really enjoy talks where people also bring their own personality to the talk, rather than, you know, this could have been a blog post or a book maybe, and it's quite neutral. Even, you know, those can be good as well if it's really expertly done with good content. But I like the experience and sharing your personal experience, and then also connecting with the audience. You know, has anyone ever had this problem? And people like sort of giggle uncomfortably or raise their hands. And I like the interaction with the audience, which...
It's very nice. Yeah. So are you never afraid that the curator of the technology that you're talking about is sitting in the front row and is going to be very critical and shaking their head?
Yeah, that could happen. In reality, it doesn't happen, and I'll tell you why. In reality, no one knows everything about some technology. So there might be somebody who's sitting there that knows some part about some part of what I'm talking about. He knows more than I. but that's actually beneficial to me, because if they raise questions later, I'm confident to say like, wait, I don't know about this area, about this specific use case, but it's really interesting. I'm going to find out, and then we can connect together. Or I will share about this on Twitter. It helps me to understand more. But I'm still trying to prepare my talks, what I shared with people, to give them the most value possible. And I believe that even that person learned something, at least maybe just 5 minutes of my talk were something new for him. But I still believe that there is some like no, there is an overlap, but there is also some difference, and everybody knows something, and if we get it together, then we can still learn from each other.
And also the creators of a framework might not know all of the ways that people use it, or people might use it in ways that are not intended, which is also excellent feedback. So
you get connection with them. So I'm talking
Exactly.
about the framework called Wadin and the framework called Chook. And I'm very much involved with the creators of these frameworks because they are interested in my view or my point of view about the framework, my usage. And so it's like also sharing experience with the creators. So that's very important.
Yeah. And also, if you're standing and you're doing a presentation, you get a question you don't know the answer to. Often you kind of know what the direction is. You don't necessarily need to say, I don't know. You could say, well, it's something like this, or you could ask the group. You could say, does anyone know? And then make it a collaborative experience. That's a nice thing. You can make it really low key, low threshold.
I did a talk about testing at JSpring, one of the Dutch conferences by the NLJUG once. And at the end, people had questions about like different testing tools and how they were using it. And it ended up being a discussion among the audience at the end. And that was like the best part. It was just, again, audience participation is great.
Well, I think we've really covered a lot in quite a short time. Someone watching this, what would you give them as a tip to get started in the community, in any community, but maybe in the communities that we're part of? What should be their first step from as a tip, as a generic tip? Because as Andra said, there are many ways in, but what would you give as a special tip?
I would say just look around your city where you live. If there are any communities, go there, meet the people. Maybe you already know some of them. Yeah. And if you want to speak at the local communities, just ask, because we like to have international speakers as well at the Java user group, but we also like to have talks from the community.
Yeah, the local speakers are great because then they can develop their skills and then grow from there. And mixing that with the international speakers is really nice. Yeah.
And some communities have like starting talks or help people to get started with talking and mentoring.
The NLJUG, the Dutch Java user group, they have a speaker academy that they do every year. So, they can help you hone your idea, create your abstract, practice doing the talk and give you good feedback. And there are lots of Dutch speakers who actually got started there. I also did the speaker academy at some point. So I would highly recommend that if that's available wherever you are. But also, if you don't like public speaking, that is fine. Sometimes people think it's scary, and it actually kind of is still. But you don't have to speak. You can also be part of the community by organizing jugs or even just attending jugs and sharing ideas or seeing if your employer can host a jug like we've done. So lots of things that you can do. Even you don't have to be a public speaker, but you can still be involved.
Yeah, I think it's important to just become more active and ask, as you said, like just offer some help. Like, I have some free time. I like what you want to do here, either with the Java user group or with some open source project or anything. Just go there. Every group should have some channel to be contacted, and don't be afraid. Realize that there are also people like you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe they know more about technology. Maybe they lack in like organizing abilities, and I would welcome your help. Maybe they miss some some other treats. Everybody has something to offer. It's just go there and offer it, ask people, and I'll come around. As I said, I started following Twitter because that was my connection to the outside world, to all the experts out there. And suddenly I met some people at conferences, show up, search for their Twitter handle, and then just send them a message or just mention them on Twitter. And a lot of them, they responded to my questions, and it's free to ask. Yeah. It's free to get advice, and why not to do that? Yeah.
At some point
like to get asked, by the way.
Yeah. At some point you end up on the other side of that. So now people are pinging me with questions about IntelliJ IDEA, for example, which is also very interesting. So
it's more than likely that if you're watching this and if you're interested in communities and in development and so on, that you're using some open source technology. So there's probably a GitHub repository. Go there, find some issues to work on, or write some documentation, and soon you'll be invited to go to the conference connected to that technology, and it can develop from there. Yep. Perfect. Thank you so very much. This is really interesting and enlightening. And anyone watching, we can be reached out to. We'd love to help and mentor and bring people into the community of your choice. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.